I'm Corbett Wall with DVAuction, here with your feeder flash for Friday, January the 12th, brought to you in part by Norfenacol by Norbrook. Norfenacol is the bioequivalent of Nuflor, but it has advantages. It's not as thick. It's more syringeable. And you guys know what I'm talking about, especially in these cold temperatures. You can actually give a shot of it. But it also comes in plastic bottles, which is handy also in these cold temperatures here, and not as likely to break those bottles and lose the product. And it also has a shorter sub-Q withdrawal period than Nuflor. For more information, go to norbrook.com. Batten down the hatches. Now we are going to get some bitter cold temperatures here. Dangerously cold. I mean, as cold as it's been in many years here in many places up through the middle part of the country. I've been talking to people here the last few days. We've got to winterize. We haven't seen this kind of cold for a while, so we've got to winterize things. You got to get diesel treatment in your tractors and your pickups and everything. I mean, this is going to be really scary here. It's going to be hard on the cattle. Got to put bedding down, keep those cattle off that cold ground. Especially your bulls, guys. For you guys that are in the cow-calf business, you got to keep those bulls' testicles up off that cold ground. Get them on some type of a bedding or hay or something to try to keep them warm. It's really getting scary out there, guys. And we've got light receipts in all of our feeder cattle auctions already at the end of this week. It's going to continue into the first part of next week. Over the weekend, it's going to be extremely cold. OKC West in El Reno, Oklahoma. They normally sell cows and bulls on Monday. They sell calves on Tuesday, and they sell feeders on Wednesday. They have decided to move all classes of cattle onto Wednesday. So if you're going to market your cattle this week at OKC West, bring everything on Wednesday, and it's going to try to keep them cattle a little bit safer, and the people too. But your light trade here in your fat cattle market, we haven't seen hardly any trade at all, and that's just the Packers' way. They've had to cut kills so much here, they likely don't need a lot of cattle. So when they don't need a lot of cattle, they can get by on the contracted or formula cattle that they've already got coming, and they don't need to go out into the open market and negotiate on cattle, which they don't like negotiating anyway, because negotiating brings about higher prices. And we've already seen quite a bit of trade, not quite a bit, but I guess some trade in the northern plains and the Midwest at the extreme high of last week. And if they got any more, if they got more aggressive, it's going to be higher than that. Haven't seen any trade at all in the southern plains. But it's going to be scary cold. They're talking about, it's playoff time in the football, NFL, and they're talking about the Kansas City game could possibly be the coldest game that they've ever seen as far as temperatures. And you want to keep track. This weekend, the Packers and the Cowboys are going to be playing. And we talk about the Cowboy and the Packer game here every day on the feeder flash. It might be one opportunity this year that the Cowboys have a good chance to beat the Packers. They have home field advantage, so it's not always on the Packers playground and on the Packers rules. Cowboys have a good chance to win here. But just take care of yourself, take care of your cattle, do the best you can, and good luck to you through these cold temperatures this weekend. Lynn's Heritage Angus. This time of year, there's always talk about what bulls are going to cost. And you talk about your production sales and starting to try to buy some new genetics to go into your herd. Well, just like everything else, there's inflation, so likely prices are going to be higher. Year to date, there have been 54,000 Angus bulls sold, and the average price of those Angus bulls is over $6,400. There's a better price, guys. Lynn's Heritage Angus will be selling 150 bulls on January the 18th. Last year's bulls averaged around $5,000. They've got a buyback program. They've got premium genetics there. Reasonable genetics for a better price there, guys. So check out Lynn's Heritage Angus, January 18th, going to be here on DVAuction.com. Let's talk about your board on Thursday. February live cattle futures up $1.05 at 171.80. April was up 90 cents at 174.57. Your back months were all up, also up 32 cents to up 87, but still trading within that narrow range that they've been trading in for the last several months. January feeder cattle up 165. We've seen some big gains here in your feeder cattle last few days at 226.27. March feeder cattle up 127 at 227.40. Back months on feeder cattle all up over $1 from $1.07 to $1.27. Look at your grain futures on Chicago Board of Trade. March corn down 1 3/4 cents at 457 3/4. January beans up 2 1/2 at 1231 1/4. March Kansas City hard red or winter wheat down 8 1/2 cents a bushel at 616. Fat cattle trade, like I mentioned earlier, just some meager trade there in the northern plains and the Midwest, but not much to speak of at all. And all of it pretty much at the extreme top of last week, but not pushing any higher than that. Iowa sold 3,400 head on Thursday. 8,500 head is all for the week. Live prices from 173 to 175. Dress market from 273 to mostly 275. Nebraska sold 1,700 on Thursday, and that's all they've sold all week. Live price at 175. Dress trade from 272 to 275. Kansas and Texas have not traded a hoof, negotiated direct trade all week. And I'm not sure what it takes to set the bar or the threshold to establish a trade for those formula trades. A lot of them are different, but likely not going to be enough here unless guys get busy here on Friday in the bitter cold to trade some cattle here and establish a base price for those formula trades. Box beef cutout values are going up. Evidently these wholesale buyers, they're aware of the bitter cold temperatures and the cutback on the slaughter, so we are getting some box beef cutouts sold higher. Choice cuts on Thursday afternoon up $2.82 at $285.89. Selects up $3 smooth at $269.94. Your slaughter through the first 4 days of this week only 424,000. Can't really compare to last week because of the holiday, but compared to the same week a year ago, it was 78,000 fewer. Now, if we ever get warmed back up and get things back to normal, these packers are really going to have to scramble, and they're going to need a lot of cattle, and they're going to have to turn the chain speeds up to get caught up to replenish their product there. Be prepared for that. Your actual slaughter information come back 2 weeks late there, and your average dressed steer carcass weight at 941 pounds, which is gigantic, but it's still 1 pound lighter than the previous report. Talk about what else is going on. Livestock Risk Services, that's Dakota Moss there, offices in the Exchange Building at the Oklahoma National Stockyard there in Oklahoma City. They are your LRP specialist. Him and the agents that work with him, they can answer all your questions. And I know a ton of you guys are interested in LRPs. You hear us talking about them all the time, but you have a lot of questions about them. Call them up. It doesn't cost you anything to call them up. Ask your questions. Ask about the target prices and the premium costs and how much the government will kick in and subsidize those premium costs. For more information, go to livestockriskservices.com. Talk about your feeder cattle markets, your real-time index on DVAuction late in the day on Thursday, based on an 800-pound cash auction steer up through your middle 12 states, and it's lighter receipts again because of the cutbacks because of the weather, but sitting at 228.14. That's up 8 cents from Wednesday's close there. Your CME cash feeder cattle index, the latest available, was 227.75. Beaver County stockyards will be having the postponed sale that they were going to have Tuesday, but had to postpone because of the blizzard. They are going to have that sale on Friday. They've got a little over 2,100 head. They haven't taken any more consignments. Going to be selling those cattle here on Friday. Beaver County stockyards. Those cattle have been well taken care of. Been comfortable there at the stockyards at Beaver and ready for you to buy. Go on to DVAuction.com and check out that sale. Talk about your big sales on Thursday. Well, most of our big sales are usually in Kansas on Thursday, but it's been bitter cold, blizzard conditions, really rough in Kansas. And the big sales in Kansas, which are normally Saline and Pratt, they had light receipts on Thursday because of the bitter cold, and also the bitter cold that's coming up. So a lot of your consigners didn't bring cattle in there because they knew those Southwest Kansas feed yards were going to be under wraps here with this cold and any storms that are coming. So they didn't bring many cattle in. So it was very light receipts in Kansas. Your NationalBeefWire stick-out sale of the day was Ogallala Livestock Auction in Ogallala, Nebraska. 6,400 head. Market News called the steers under 600 pounds 10 to 20 bucks higher than the last sale. Those weighing over 600 pounds 2 to 5 bucks lower. Heifers weighing under 6, 2 to 11 bucks higher. Of course, they were very impressive calf consignments there. Your bigger heifers weighing over 600 pounds 2 to 5 bucks lower. And look at this automated market report through Cattle Market Central. And then they had a lot of really good tested weights there. We're going to go through them. How about 701 head of 4-weight steer calves in Ogallala? They averaged 452 with a weighted average price on over 700 of them of $345.89. 1,122 head of 5-weight steer calves in Ogallala on Thursday averaged 538 at $331.88. 683 head of 6-weight steer calves averaged 651 at $267.39. 575 head of 7-weight steers averaged 755 at $238.54. And 436 head of 8-weight steers in Ogallala, Nebraska averaged 852 pounds with a weighted average price of $231.67. Look at the heifers. 711 head of 4-weight heifer calves averaged 445 pounds with a weighted average price of $304.51. 384 head of 5-weight heifer calves averaged 540 pounds at $280.41. 618 head of 6-weight heifers averaged 648 at $244.80. And 375 head of 7-weight heifers in Ogallala, Nebraska averaged 738 pounds at $230.26. Give you some individual quotes. And this is coming out of Stockman's Livestock Exchange in Dickinson, North Dakota. You think it's cold where you're at? How about in Dickinson, North Dakota? And they sell 101 head of 573 pound steers weighing close to 6 guys at $298.75 way up in North Dakota. Now I talked to one buyer there that was buying cattle way out west, a California backgrounder buying cattle out of Orland Livestock Commission Yard in Orland, California. That's a DVAuction customer, and they broadcast there every week. Had a lot of smaller bunches, really couldn't put anything together. But this stalker backgrounder there bought near 200 head of 4-weight steers. They averaged 406 pounds with an average price just over $406 per pound. My goodness. And they've had moisture out west there, guys. We cater to our customers and our DVAuction broadcasters way out west. They've had really good sales out there on lightweight calves this winter, and they background and they graze cattle on grass in the winter time out west there, guys, and that's why they have so much demand on those. But the most impressive quote that I saw anywhere on Thursday in your Macrocin, no BS, top quote for the day, indeed come out of Ogallala Livestock Auction in Ogallala, Nebraska. It was Low Cattle Company's consignment there. 129 steer calves weighed 472 at $397.50. And that's your feeder flash for Friday.